The Hedonic Treadmill. Sounds kind of fancy, right? You know what? We're gonna curl the mustache for this video because it's come off as professional. Yes. Hedonic Treadmill, what does it mean? Honestly, I had no idea until I just watched a video called Hedonic Adaptation, Why You'll Never Have Enough by Mindful Things. Gotta give a shout out to this channel. They did a really, really good job explaining it. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna react to their quick little 2-minute video on it, and then we'll see how it actually applies to our lives. Because for me, this was a bit of a knowledge bomb, and hopefully it's something that will actually apply to my life, make a few differences. Maybe you can too, so let's check it out.
It never is enough, is it? You graduate college, you're hired at your dream job, you get that big bonus, you move to a new city, you buy that new fancy phone. But once the initial excitement passes, you realize you aren't any happier than you were before. There's a psychological reason for this called hedonic adaptation, and it has a greater life message I think we can all take something from. Hedonic adaptation is the concept that no matter what happens to you, good or bad, you will always return to your baseline of happiness. This is why it's also known as a treadmill, because we always end up in the same place. The model for this idea looks like this. Failed a test? It will make you unhappy at first, but eventually you'll return to your baseline of happiness. Bought a new house? You'll start off super happy, but still over time you'll end up back to your baseline. This baseline of happiness is different for everyone, and researchers believe it is determined 50% by genetics, 10% by personal circumstances, and 40% by you. And
All right, so good news there, 40% that we can actually do something about this. 50% genetics is a tough pill to swallow, depending exactly where you fall on that spectrum, right? It's hard for me to say. I don't really know exactly what to compare against. I feel like I've, been fairly happy for the duration of my life, but who knows? Maybe people are walking around there substantially happier than me, or maybe it turns out I'm one on the higher end of happiness, and everyone else has been walking around less happy. Who knows, right? I guess it's kind of subjective, and we may never know. But anyway, point to take away from there, I guess, is there is that 40% that we can actually play with. It's kind of our responsibility, actually, too. But crazy to think as well, though, the positives and the negatives actually will both kind of bring you back to the same spot. Interesting.
Likely to change too much. Psychologists have been looking at hedonic adaptation for a long time, and it has been shown even in extreme examples. One study looked at a group of lottery winners and a group of people who had just suffered an accident and were now paralyzed. They found that after a long period, neither group was necessarily happier than the other. They returned to a baseline of happiness over time after their initial delight and despair. I know, these results are super surprising as...
Yeah, that is almost hard to even believe. We all think, or we all know money doesn't buy you happiness. We all say it, and I just don't know how many people actually believe that, because the majority of the population is still seeking money as their metric of success, myself probably included in that. It's just that we know deep down it's not really the true measurement of success. Anyway, it's crazy to think that although they will spike up to, euphoric levels at one point, it's not going to last very long. Could even be just a couple days in some people's cases. I know I've experienced that before, just when I've had a goal in mind for years even to achieve it, and then feel like it doesn't really matter, and only a matter of a couple days is a pretty crazy thing. But what really blew my mind about this is the people that have been through a severe injury or trauma that have gone in the other direction, where they were significantly less happy, that there is at least an average from their survey of people that were able to come back up to their baseline. And that the people who won the lottery ended up in the same spot as the people who, experienced severe injury. That is kind of mind-blowing to me, but, very useful information to have when you're mapping out what your plan is for your life.
These are life-changing events, but can show the power of this effect. Hedonic adaptation can explain why it seems like we're always chasing the next big thing, and can impact the way we find happiness in our lives. No matter what happens, it has been psychologically proven that over time, we will more or less come back to our same happiness baseline. At first, this might seem disappointing, but at least to me, there is great comfort in knowing that everything in life passes, positive or negative. Our brains make it this way, and we can't help it. So live more in the moment, enjoy the ride, and stop chasing that next big thing. Have any...
What is the takeaway here? It seems like chasing pleasure, chasing happiness isn't really going to get us there. We live in a culture where we think happiness is always just around the corner, and we're told it's a good thing to chase. But basically the answer is that you never actually get there, at least not to the level you want to. So for those of you that are watching this video and maybe you feel quite down, I don't want this to be a bleak message that there's nothing you can do about that and that you'll never be happy in this, right? We saw in the video there is a little bit of room for improvement there, regardless of genetics and whatever your baseline is kind of destined to be, right? You can change that slightly. But I think it comes with a mindset change. I think pretty clearly this backs up the idea that chasing happiness isn't what actually gets you there. So what is? And I can't really say that I have that answer, but I know it's going to come from a change in focus. And so my own personal takeaway, at least, is that we need to pursue purpose rather than pleasure. Something, at least, that is beyond yourself, that goes beyond just this idea of you being happy. Worst case scenario that comes from this, right, is you stay at the baseline that you were going to anyway if you chased happiness, but you accomplish something that's far greater than just your own happiness. I don't know. I can't say that I fully tested it. I haven't lived my whole life just a purpose-driven life. I think it's something that we all would desire to do. We watch movies, we read books, and it's exactly what our heroes are doing, but it's really, really hard to live that out. Maybe from watching this video, having an understanding, at least, that chasing the happiness isn't going to do it for us, we'll at least have the motivation to shift our mindset a little bit more towards purpose. But, I definitely don't have all the answers. So if anybody has any insight, I would love to hear it. Would love to learn more too, I guess in the comments. So thank you.